I had a real interesting encounter with what was either a mountain lion, someone pumped full of PCP, or some Wendigo thing. Be in southern Wisconsin, staying at parents' house for a couple days. They have internet, I don't. Gonna play some video with friends. Long weekend, cheap alcohol, good times. Anyways, we have bizarre screeching noises at night. It sounds like a rabbit being killed combined with the sound a cat makes when you step on its tail. This has been happening since we moved there when I was like 14. It happens a lot more recently. Sometimes it screeches all night. Frequently go out to find it. Never find shit. Maybe weird tracks, but they could be from literally anything with feet. The instant I go outside, it stops. Like the thing fucking evaporates, leaving no trace. Excuse the poor storytelling, I think out of order kinda. So anyways, I'm playing computer games and drinking with friends. Screeching outside, too busy to look. Gets even louder. Friends eventually fuck off because work/school. Thing is super pissed. Sounds like shit is hitting the house. Go downstairs to where we have a screen porch. Mom is in the adjoining room. Asks if I've been hearing it. No shit. Cat is on screen porch with all his hair sticking straight out. Nigga pissed. He's hissing like a motherfucker. In my infinite drunken wisdom, I decide to hunt for the beast. My guns are at my house. I'm armed with a mag light, my rat-killing pipe, and a pump BB gun. Now this is operating. Screeching stops the instant I go outside. As per usual, I'm sneaky breaky because no shoes. Mag light is off because I don't want to announce my presence that hard. I got one overpressurized BB in the chamber. I'm ready for battle. I start my rounds of the property, thinking maybe it's just a loud owl, or possibly a twink Bigfoot getting rammed. Either way, it's getting shot. Here, shuffling in a tree. It's right by an outbuilding, so I'm able to sneak up on it in the shadow of the building. Gonna fucking pop this owl with a BB, then introduce it to my rat-killing pipe. Maybe leave its corpse so its friends know what happens when you mess with me. Get about 4 feet away from the lower branches. It doesn't sound like an owl. Sounds like a person mumbling to itself almost. Not words, just noises. And a wet noise. I have to see what this is. Turn on mag light. Now I'm not fazed by much, but this shit really fucked me up. Reddish gray thing with disjointed limbs, kinda stubby snout thing, almost like there's no lips on the mouth. The next instant after I flicked on the light, it snapped its head up at a crazy angle, screeched, and launched itself into another tree. I was full of liquid courage at the time, so I gave chase while shooting BBs at it. Jumped through a couple of trees until it lost me for a second. Then I truly know fear. In the dark, alone, no real weapons, and I'm with this fucking cunt. Time to tactically reload and overpressurize a round. Thing jumps out a tree, right over me. I drop BB gun because spooked. It runs over the garage, only one tree on other side of garage. Whip around corner as I grab my trusty rat-killing pipe. It was at this point I realized I'd done goofed. I cornered an unknown, potentially violent animal after spending 8 minutes antagonizing it without a real weapon. I shine my mag light at it. It screeches even louder than usual. I'm close enough to this cunt to see its throat vibrate when it screeches. It's got to come down now at this point. There's no way in hell it can jump like 30 feet. So it's either gonna run or attack. Now I'm drunk, so my brain isn't functioning properly. If that wasn't obvious by the fact that I chase animals around at night in bare feet. So I decide to do what you're supposed to do to scare mountain lions away. Only I can't quite remember it. So I pull my shirt half off of me so that it's like inside out but still around my neck. I'm holding the sleeves, so I start screeching and spinning around, with my shirt over my head like a 6-year-old. It screeches back. I screech louder, wind up running into the dog kennel because I can't see. Apparently that spooked Mr. or Mrs. Grey Cunt. Hear vigorous shuffling and scampering. Rip shirt off and prepare to get in a fist fight with this thing. Completely gone. Can't find mag light, so no real way to check. Make my way back to the house in silence and darkness. We rarely hear the noise anymore. Apparently drunken autism wins the day here in Wisconsin.
Don't actually know what it was, but everyone says Dogman. I've posted this before a year ago. Night walking on farm property to spook the coyotes away, January of 2018. No funds at the time, just a giant metal fence post, hobo weaponry, Walk is normal. It's pretty bright out, so just brought a shitty headlamp. Get halfway through the walk, now on the dirt path road that leads to a crossroads and then an orchard. Something is wrong. Eyes shoot directly to the road that intersects my road, to the right and in front of me. Something absolutely fucking huge is standing upright and walking towards the intersection. I'm 6 foot tall. It was at least 2 feet above me, completely unnaturally pitch black. It was above the shitty almond trees from my POV. Long gangly arms and a hunched neck were the only features I could see. It's only about 0.15 of a mile from me. Instantly filled with fear, blood runs cold. Shut off every light, drop to a crouch, watch it keep walking along. No fucking way it didn't see me. No way I'm waiting to see what it is, decide to bail. Turn around and start walking. Walk turns into a run. Run turns into a sprint. Run half a mile in full sprint. Reach the big oak tree by my house. Take cover with hobo spear ready, feeling terrified still. Feeling fades. Walk back into house, tell family. Walk out the next night with camera. On the path I was running, see my boot imprints. See pick related next to my prints. Never saw anything like it again, but I'm always wary now.
Be Me from Oklahoma. Friend is half Ponca Indian, Ponca dad, white mom. Invites me to a Ponca powwow. It's in the middle of nowhere. Leave late, around 12 to 1 a.m. in the car. Can't believe how absolutely pitch black it is outside. Mention it to my friend, ask him if he's heard of skinwalkers. He asks me what I mean. I tell him, oh, my dad's seen one of them. They're like evil witches that can shapeshift. He tells me about the time his dad saw one. His dad was out leaving work late. Job was in the middle of nowhere. Pitch dark outside. His dad gets in his truck and turns on the lights. As soon as he gets in his truck, he sees a coyote run across the road in front of his lights. The coyote stops, stands on 2 feet, and turns to look at the truck. His dad nopes the fuck out and speeds off.
Native American here, Choctaw to be specific. I have a weird story that my mother told me. She grew up in rural Oklahoma. Family is Christian, but the Choctaw stories, legends, and myths are still part of life. One night, when Mom was in her teens, her oldest brother was coming home from work. He worked at a sawmill about 5 miles from home, and he usually traveled on horseback, but on this night he was walking. On his way home, he heard an animal following him. He wasn't worried since he always had his rifle with him, even when he went to work. The family subsisted mainly off hunted game and farming. This animal followed him for a couple of miles. At one point, it would come really close to him and then back off. It was acting as if it wanted him to follow it into the woods. But he knew better and came home. The next day, he wasn't working, so he went down the road to the place where the animal had stopped following him. He went into the woods a short distance from the road and came across a hollowed-out tree. These things are a haven for snakes. So he approached it cautiously, and when he got close, he thought he could see a snake inside. He picked up a large branch and went to poke at what he thought was a snake. Instead of coiling up or slithering away, it just sat there. He thought that maybe it was dead, so he got closer. Disgusted, he jumped back. It was a mound of intestines. He had raised enough farm animals for food and hunted enough that he knew right away what they were. He had no idea why they were in the base of the hollowed-out tree, but he decided to scrape them out to see what other parts he might find. It was nothing but a long section of intestine. He examined it a bit but couldn't tell what animal it came from, but it was big enough that it had to be at least something deer-sized or bigger. He slung it into the brush and decided to walk on up to the country store near the sawmill. On his way back near that area again, he heard something in the woods. It was still light out, so he crept into the brush to see if he could see what was making the noise. To his shock and surprise, there was an old woman whining and crying as she frantically searched in and around the base of the hollow tree. He backed away as quietly and as quickly as he could and pretty much ran the rest of the way home. He grew up in the 1940s and was about 20 years old at the time and strong. He was raised to be tough and didn't scare easily, but for some reason this spooked him. When he got home, he told his mom what happened. She told him never to tell anyone else what he saw, since if it got back to the old woman, she would put a curse on him. She told him that the old lady was a witch and the intestines were hers. She said that she had heard that witches would use a spell to turn themselves into wolves or mountain lions or smaller cats if they wanted to spy on others. To do that, part of the spell called for them to remove their own intestines, and they had to be stored somewhere safe. They could only stay changed for so long, and once changed back, if they didn't get the intestines back in them, they would die soon afterwards. He never heard the animal or saw the old woman again.
I've seen a bald, pale-skinned creature back when I lived on my grandparents' land, which is a few steps away from an old Indian camping spot. The first time I saw one, I was probably 8 years old at the time. It was late at night and I couldn't sleep, so I was looking out my window, and that's when I saw a car's headlights shine on this tall creature. It walked on all fours and crawled into a ditch which is connected to the woods. The car didn't seem to react like they saw it. However, another time when I was 12, someone else saw the creature with me. We had moved to a new rural area, and I was using my telescope in my room since the moon was very bright out that night. Me and my mom saw a similar creature cross the road and go into the corn again. The cars on the road didn't react like they could see it, but me and my mom both freaked out. I told her that was the same thing I had seen before. The last time I have seen a creature like this was about 4 years later. Due to money issues, we had to move back to my grandparents' land that's next to the reservation. It was twilight out around 8 p.m. in the summer. I was having a small bonfire by myself in a meadow area on the property. I was heading inside but had to walk around a line of trees and do a bit of a U-turn, so I had to walk towards my neighbor's yard to go around the trees. And I saw something running on 2 legs very quickly in my neighbor's yard going towards a thicket full of dead trees. At first I thought it was my neighbor, but the longer I looked, the more I noticed its features. Very pale skin, very tall and naked. I kept looking at it, non-believing what I was seeing. And as it was running, it turned and looked at me, so I freaked out and booked it to my house. I regret not watching it further because it was about 100 or so feet from me, but I chose to run away instead. I haven't seen anything like that in a while. Pick-related, it's the only thing I found similar to it that wasn't rake-related.
Is it this thing?
It looked similar but was more stretched out, like probably 8 feet tall. What I've seen is they crawl on all fours with their elongated arms and legs kind of like Gollum, except that one that was running. I live in Minnesota in the middle region.
Definitely a Wendigo. We get 'em in Indiana. Cops refuse to acknowledge them, but talk to any park ranger and their face will turn fucking white. Northern U.S., Wendigo. Southern U.S., Skinwalker. Go to a nearby reservation and ask to speak to the local police, like within the tribe. Describe your findings to them, and they will look into it and lead you through a prayer. I had an encounter with a skinwalker in Arizona that followed me for several days, and this is what I did. They're not going to tell you shit about it or even mention its name, but they will help you with the right proceedings so it doesn't bother you anymore. We had someone that was Cherokee come out to the land and did a prayer once, because we had sightings of a full head-dressed chief walking my grandparents' land before. She did some scream, which she said symbolized peace in Cherokee, and the paranormal stuff toned down for a few years, because she came shortly after my first sighting in 2008. But 2015 or 16 was the most recent sighting I saw.
My fiance and I saw that exact creature staying at a farm southwest of Tucson. It's on land considered holy ground to local tribes. We were turning onto a road outside the property, and the headlights of our car illuminated this thing spot on, and it was running back and forth extremely quickly, as if excited by the lights. We told the owners of the farm a little later. This happened on the full moon 2.5 months ago. Seemed like it might be an important detail, so I registered it, and they said they'd seen it before on a few occasions, and that it was a shapeshifter. The husband said he'd literally seen it shapeshift from a car back into a humanoid form. A fucking car. That's my little contribution. Have a great day, Anons. Hi/X/AussieFag here. I was talking to a guy I know a few months back, and he told me when he was a teenager he was chased by a creature. He said it was bipedal and had hooves. He didn't get a good look at it, but did hear it screaming. He said it almost sounded human. This happened in Hay, New South Wales about 30 years ago. Has anyone had any similar experiences? Be him. Be 15. Walking to Granddad's place with friend. Getting late, sun setting. Decide to cut through neighbor's paddocks. Walking through first paddock and notice the sound of hooves. The farm didn't have any livestock. Friend and him stop and listen. Realize it's not the sound of an animal trotting, but the sound of something walking on two legs. Clop, 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 clop. This freaks them out a bit, so they keep walking. Get to the first fence. 3 paddocks in total. Climb over the barbed wire fence. Assume whatever they heard wouldn't be able to get past the fence. Sun has set now. Nearly pitch black. Notice a faint sound. Clop, 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 clop. It's past the fence. This really freaks them out, so they start to jog. The thing starts to speed up too. Can hear it getting closer. Fuck this .jpg. Start sprinting, the thing does too. Reach the fence to the third paddock. Jump over it, leg cut on barbed wire, but who gives a fuck? Keep sprinting through the field. Feels like it's only a few meters behind. Can't look back. Too scared. Can see Granddad's place. Only a small stretch of land between neighbor and his place. Jump the fence out of the farm and run to Granddad's. 6-foot tin fence on his property line. Jump it like a Mexi-cunt jumping Great Wall of Trump. Run up to back door. Hear a loud crash where we jump the fence. It's fucking bent. Creature screams the worst sound I've heard in my life.